Jared.
Have we met before?
We have.
Yes, I thought
We
so.
talked about M3GAN before, and we talked about specifically my favorite moment, which is the toy soldiers moment of this movie,
Oh,
where
great.
you were like,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was toy soldiers.
Yeah, cool.
But we had a conversation right before it was announced that M3GAN is getting a 2.0. And so for you, knowing now the unrated version is coming out, which is what people wanted, you've seen even more of like the fan desire for more M3GAN stories. What has kind of been the most exciting part of getting to see all of that and knowing that a second movie is coming and people keep wanting more of M3GAN?
What has been the most exciting part of the reaction, or the about the sequel?
Both, but reaction first. What has been the most?
I mean, the seeing M3GAN get an entire sketch on SNL has really been the highlight for me. And there have been many highlights, but I think that was probably the biggest one. And yeah, look, as a filmmaker, to have your next movie lined up if you want to do it, it's very rare. And I think the thing that attracts me to making a sequel is that she's just this really fun character. She's a fun character to write, and it was a hard movie to make, but she is a really, really fun character. But we learned so much, because she's an animatronic puppet, and there's all these complex methodologies that go into making her, and God, and there was no time to prep, and we really got our ass handed to us so many times on set. So the idea of being able to streamline that process and do another one and put everything we learned into practice is really exciting. And then also, now that we know that people like her so much, they like her so much that they don't even think of her as a villain. And that's really interesting. When you go into a second movie, it's like, well, okay, so it's very feels like very fertile grounds for a second story. And she is an icon, and so icons get to have 7 movies. So
and do dances in all of them.
That's right. Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
It is one of those movies that just like everyone wanted it to be more gory, which is like I love it that people are just like, I want M3GAN to just murder people more and I want to watch it. So the unrated version is really exciting because it's like, well, that's what people said they wanted.
Yeah.
And so for you as a filmmaker, is it fun to kind of like, no, you're like, all right, well, I'll put the unrated version out there because people clearly want to see M3GAN just kind of go to town on people.
Yeah, well, we knew from the get-go that would happen. When we said, when the studio said they wanted it to be PG-13, it was initially like, ugh, but at the same time, yeah, I know, and yeah, we should have done that from the beginning. And by the way, I said we should make it PG-13, and no one listened. And it was not just only because I'm a kind of Cronenberg fan that I was really keen to rip some people's faces off and see what that looked like. But when we decided to make the PG-13 version, we already had the R-rated cut. So the studio said, well, we'll still release that cut. So I knew from the get-go that both cuts would see the light of day. And yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that it's better with more gore, or because I hear
like both?
both?
Because I like both. I am a person who I don't like gore when I don't know what's happening, but because I knew what was happening with M3GAN, I was like, well, I know what happens in M3GAN. I could watch the unrated, and I was like, this is fine.
Yeah,
I like it because I know exactly what's going to happen. Versus like the first time I watch gore, I get very like, oh no.
Yeah.
And so this is a unique situation where I was like, cool, I'm into it because I know exactly what's going to happen, and I know I can kind of understand where I'm going next, and it's not as frightening as watching a movie for the first time and seeing just a ton of gore.
Yeah, and I try to do it in a way that's at least interesting, and not just icky. I don't know. I'd have to watch. I actually haven't watched the unrated version since we were in the edit suite, so I have to watch it again and see how I feel about it. But it's, the film is relatively sweet and charming, and so yeah, I kind of I just miss the cursing. Like, I just had so much fun, writing dialogue for Ronnie Cheng's character, and it was so joyous just seeing him swear his head off. That was the thing I missed the most, because he couldn't have any swears in the movie, and we had to digitally like stitch his face back, take out a swear word, and then digitally stitch his face back together. So that was the most painful part of that whole process.
Oh, well, I mean, he does swear and it's great.
Yeah.
I love this movie a lot. And last time we talked about the kill and how creative M3GAN was with her kills, because I still love that she used a paper cutter and power washed a woman to death. But obviously in 2.0, there's going to be more kills, I'm assuming. And so what is like kind of your thought process behind going into another movie knowing that people are expecting these kind of creative ways this animatronic doll murders people?
That's the most fun part of the job, really, is thinking, just spending a weird amount of time figuring out how to kill someone in the most creative fashion is really the most delightful part of making a horror movie. And I don't know if I told you this last time, but it was cleaning my fence with a power washer, and I took off half the fence, and that was how I realized that this could be a great weapon. And so like, to me, I can't make a horror movie with an ordinary kill with just a knife stab. Like, I have to put some spin on it, because those are the things that get people talking when they leave the theater. And yeah, I think this definitely well, now, but now it's interesting, because now that I know that the next film is most likely going to be PG-13, I can think about that from the get-go and think about how to be the most creative, because I'm not going to be able to show you everything, like I could in the first one. So, yeah, it's the least daunting aspect of the job. The story, getting the story right is always the mountain you need to climb. All that other stuff is the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and I think again, we talked before, my favorite part is making songs. I love what she chooses to sing and when she chooses to do it. But as creatives, I know you're not supposed to write it in your screenplays. You're not supposed to know beforehand. But what is like your dream set list for 2.0 to have that doll sing at somebody?
Oh, wow. Well, if I told you, I can't tell you, because like I want to put it in, because the other thing is, so many songs have been put in movies now, and like, you wanted to have that needle drop that no other movie had kind of done, and so, but yeah, there'll be like, I'm a fairly old man, so you can expect that there's going to be some early 80s gems in there that maybe the TikTok generation don't know about, but who knows, maybe we can do for some of those artists what Stranger Things did for Kate Bush.
That would be great. Just not, M3GAN is not going to sing The Train, because that has been done over and over again.
Oh, that's
No
what we
Fleetwood
were
Mac
going to
version.
have. We were going to have the closing credits. I mean, there was one idea, we just couldn't do it in time, but I was going to have Jenna sing This Woman's Work by Kate Bush for the closing credits of the first movie.
That would have been
yeah, that would have
amazing.
been
So
but,
now there's a sequel. So there's always a sequel.
exactly.
Thank you for talking to me today. I can't wait for everyone to watch the unrated version, because I think it is very much what people were like, I wish it was just slightly this. And it's like, well, it existed. They just didn't know it was PG-13.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
cool.
but
No, it was
thank you so
great
much.
to
I
talk
can't
to you
wait.
again. Yeah.
Great talking to you. Can't wait for 2.0. I'm so excited.
Oh, thanks, Rachel. Yeah, cool. Well, hopefully we'll get to chat again when that comes out.
I love that. Have a great one.